everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Accommodation Show. This week, I'm joined by two legends from the short-term rental industry, one being Lauren, the other one being Dan, and they are the crew behind Moxxi Property. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've been enjoying talking to you folks over the past couple of years and seeing Moxxi grow. So Moxxi is primarily in Tasmania. They're managing over 250, or is it 500? What is the number now?
It's closer to 170.
170
It's going up and
properties.
Down a lot at the moment. Yeah.
5,000 properties, lots and lots of properties.
Just throw a number. There's lots.
Just throw a number out there. Look, very, very successful in their territory and in their region, and they have a lot to give. Today, folks, we're going to be talking about technology and using technology in your business and how they are using it in their business, the changes that they've had to make over time, and some best practice that you can use in your business, being either in a short-term rental, but also if you're in any of the other industries like hotels or motels, there will be parts that you can take away and say, oh, I could do that in my business. So that I've been looking forward to. Now, before I get going, how are you both?
We're better now.
No, we're doing well. Winter
really well.
is probably my favourite time of year. It's not necessarily my owner's favourite time of year, but it's an opportunity for us to really pull our business apart, look at ways that we can streamline, take out multiple steps, look at the bottlenecks, which is normally us, and where we can replace with either technology or people. I think as you're growing in past 150, you really need to tear your business apart and almost start it again, because you go from, you and a couple of people to having to scale to actual identified team members with identified skills. So it's a fun period of your business if you're looking to scale and grow into a larger company, and that's why I love winter, because you don't have all of the external pressures. Dan just has me pressuring him.
To keep them going. Yeah, look, don't disagree. Winter's a great time to sort of catch up, right? Anytime there's downtime. What would occupancy look like in your territory in a winter month in comparison to sort of standard and then into busy periods?
Yeah, well, I think at the moment we're sitting at about 50% occupancy across the portfolio, which is pretty good for winter. I mean, a lot of our corporate relations prop us up over the winter period. And then obviously through summer we scale up to that 75, 80% mark. In occupancy. Wow. I am a firm believer you can't get 100% occupancy, because if you are, you're selling too cheap and the return on investment for the owners isn't there, with the trade-off for utility expenses and maintenance costs and changeover costs, and the list goes on. Winter, like Lauren said, winter is a great time for us to pick apart what works, what doesn't, and how we can make it better.
Yeah. And it's interesting for those that aren't in Australia, our tax year ends today. So June the 30th. You'll be watching this in the future. So it was last month. But anyhow, so we have a very clear definition or delineation is what I meant to say in time of that kind of mid-year is the time to tidy the business, buy everything, get ready for the following year, which is a good time. And 50% during low season is quite impressive, actually. I think that's quite incredible. How do you guys track in comparison to your competitors and industry-wide?
We smash our competitors. As far as Tasmanian companies, there are a couple that use dynamic pricing. There are a couple that are as aggressive as us, but I would say we are some of the most aggressive managers in the state. A lot of our competition are still doing manual work, so manual calendar management, manual operations management, and they're not taking advantage of the technology available to streamline and improve the offerings that we have to market. So 10 to 20% higher on average, Moxxi is as far as a occupancy, but then we also have a higher RevPAR, significantly higher RevPAR. And that's somewhat because of our corporate relationships. We have built a huge corporate arm to our business, but also very much Dan and the team on the optimization side are always looking to optimize our listings, whether it's photos or pricing or listing content. We are, especially in winter, doing a lot of work there.
I love it how you've led us the way down to looking into technology and how to leverage that to sort of be a better operator. But a couple of things that you said there that I want to cover off. How, when you say that you're doing better than your competitors, what would you say is how do you know that number? Are you looking at AirDNA or what kind of tool, or is it a bit of a guess? Or
I'll throw it to Dan because he's the one that gets pestered all day.
All day. No, it's definitely not a guess. We use key data a lot in our tech stack, as well as Price Labs as well, and our own internal data, because naturally within Resley, our PMS, we can see obviously our own data, and then we bench our own data against the market data to obviously give us those figures to allow us to talk to our owners and also to the broader audience, because I think it's not just us. And, I think we can caveat, we aren't perfect in what we do. We are always striving to be that 1% better every day. And as we keep evolving as a business, we're not necessarily adding a lot of new things. It's refining what we have with the tools that we have now to making us a better brand and a better product. Yeah. In the terms of how we do it better, I think we just care. Is the short answer, is we care about how we can generate more revenue for our owners. It's hard, and we personally take that hard when an owner doesn't do great in a calendar month. But one of the big things that we look to do is educate our owners that, yes, it's a short-term rental, but you got to look at it as a long-term play. Look at it over the calendar year. There are the peaks and the troughs throughout the season. So I'm always getting the questions through winter going, why am I not making as much money?
Gotcha. And then, so you're using data to be able to kind of show the way and talk to your owners. The other, so key data and Price Labs, for those of you listening, great tools. There's a whole bunch of them. And I would recommend that if you are looking at those, so there's sort of two categories. Is your data. You can Google it and you'll find lots and lots of aggregators of data. And then the pricing tools. So beyond Price Labs, and there's a whole plethora of them. You can always reach out to any of us and we'll be able to guide you. But the other thing I wanted to address, Lauren, one of the things you said is we are more aggressive. And I want you to unpack that for me. What does aggressive mean in terms of you and your business, and in terms of doing, but like, how do you be more aggressive, if that makes sense?
Probably Dan should answer how I'm more aggressive personally, but from a corporate perspective, I truly believe that in order to run a successful business in the STR space and accommodation in general, you have to try and maximize the return on every individual property you have in your portfolio. It's all well and good to grow your portfolio, but if each property is not maximized, you're going to get higher levels of churn because your owners aren't getting the returns that they want. And onboarding, like recruiting, is a lot of work. So we're putting a lot of work in on the front end. If we're not maximizing it on the back end, we're going to be churning and not making the money ourselves. Every company that I know works on commission. So obviously the more money we make every individual owner, the more revenue we make as an organization as well. Yeah. I'm extremely aggressive in the fact that if I can see a property is not performing well, we will reshoot photos, we will redo the listing. We have front-facing cleaning fees and back-facing cleaning fees depending on the market demand and area. We might manipulate those cleaning fees, drop it down to a 2-person plus for extra people. All of those kind of strategies, constantly manipulating those listings means that you're going to get a better result. There is a belief in the industry that every time you touch your listing, you improve the algorithm. That's not true at all. So shuffling a photo, changing a word doesn't improve where your property sits in the algorithm. The rankings, but what does change it is making it more appealing to people, making it stickier. So the more people who land on your listing end up booking it, understanding your bounce rates, all of that is so important. And I think it's easy to have a lot of data, but it is not easy to implement changes based on data. it's easy to have the subscriptions to be on price ads, key data, etc. But to actually dive in and understand it is the thing that's going to make the difference between someone who's fairly passive and someone who's fairly aggressive. So I know I keep pulling back into the technology space, but Dan has been creating a overlay that allows us to ask questions based on the performance of a booking. So we can type into this chat and say, hey, this is the booking. Is this a good nightly rate? Where is our RevPAR sitting against the market? So that we can go back to an owner and say, we know we gave them a 20% discount, but what it's given you is this RevPAR compared to the market. So it's actually a really good booking. So we're constantly analysing every booking, communicating that to the owners, especially through winter when they are cognizant of their expenses and the fact they're earning less. Yeah. So having that overlay has allowed us to understand the value of the bookings, understand the outcomes that we're achieving, and not just going, I think we're doing well. To know you're doing well, to be able to talk to an owner based on their performance against the market, such a strong move. So yeah, to me, aggressive is not just having the data, it's making the changes fast and measuring the results.
Yeah. To me, as you're explaining that, I don't feel that it's aggressive. I feel it's more fanatical. That it's something that, like just to an overly obsessive degree of looking at things. And aggressive to me, kind of, it's almost like you being aggressive to somebody else. But this isn't about anybody else. This is about yourself looking at things and trying to be better and trying to improve, but not necessarily at the expense of others. More so to improve yourself. So that level of detail is absolutely necessary, and it's great to see. And I think that I love the understanding of really of knowing how to service your owners. And on that, one of the pieces of feedback I was reading last night on Reddit, a post from an owner complaining about property managers and saying they're not worth the money, and naming all sorts of companies and friends that we know, saying, hey, it's not worth it. They don't really care about the property and the guests, and it's all about squeezing margin and not improving experience for guests, which I found really, really fascinating. Now, that could be anecdotal, could be someone just trolling, right? But I think there's something to it as well, is that being a property manager, there's two sides of the equation. One is that you're, of course, trying to deliver as much profitability as possible for an owner, but you also need to look after your guests, right? But that's a philosophical thing, and it's hard to prove in the numbers whether it's worth, investing in the more expensive soap or the more expensive cleaner and that sort of thing. I know that this isn't specifically about today's topic, but what are your thoughts on that feedback?
Look, you're not going to please everyone. There's always going to be a grumpy guest. There's always going to be an owner that picks something that you are supposedly not great at. And I think you've just got to be comfortable with that. We struggled early on. You get really, and we still do now, a crappy Airbnb review comes through and you're like, oh man, that cut deep. But at the end of the day, it's water over a duck's back. It's 1 in 1,000 reservations type of situation where things like that happen. So yes, in answer to your question, it is a trade-off between squeezing the margins, making the money for the owners, but also a great guest experience. But you can have both and do well at both 85, 90% of the time, because you'll never get that 100% perfect on both sides. Because at the end of the day, there's still humans at play and we make mistakes.
Growing the business has been interesting in that trade-off though, but for me, when you're growing really hard, your quality will slip a little bit, and then you stop, you refocus, because energy goes where energy flows. So we've just hit 65-star reviews in a row on Airbnb. And that's because we made a conscious decision as a company to step back from doing air cover claims and anything else, because Airbnb now no longer removes retaliatory reviews. And what we found is every time we suggested to a guest they didn't do the best job, we got a 1-star review out of it. So we got a spate of 1-star reviews, which smashed our superhost status, which smashed a lot of things. So as a company, we then decided to pull back from that. We leave warm winter socks and a personal note for all our guests because winter is cold in Tassie, a hot water bottle, and those kind of things that are beautiful personal touches. In saying that, there are always going to be properties that don't perform that well. They're either not located in the best spot, they're not furnished in the nicest way, the owner doesn't want to spend the money on it. In Tasmania, particularly on the coast, doesn't do well over winter. Very few people travel to the coast for winter time. And a lot of those owners have come to us because they need to make money off their investments. So it is a tough balance in that respect. You do absolutely want to deliver a result for them, but you can't get them guests if there are none there, which is why we've moved towards the corporate model where we're bringing in tradespeople, locums, all of that, those kind of people, because we have some drive for our own guests in that way. But it is a trade-off, and it's something that I struggle with, and we had a get-together with other owners as well. Some of them don't give a single hoot about the guest experience. They're just there to make the money. Others probably too far down the guest experience route and therefore are sacrificing their well-being. But to me, a good manager is someone that manages it with the care of delivering the best outcome from both ends. And there has been the odd occasion where I'm like, if someone self-managed it, they might have done better there. But with all of the work that we do, I'd say more times than not, we're coming out with higher levels of care, higher levels of concern, and higher levels of output than a general self-managed person.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that for a property management company is having the right systems and processes. The same as, if you're at a hotel as well, as it's all the best hotels have the best processes and the best systems and the best people to deliver those processes and systems, and also be able to adapt if things aren't working the way that they should do. Interesting. So let's move on to technology, because as you'll know, I talk about technology all the time. We build websites, we do marketing, we do branding. We're always knee deep in the latest technology which is coming out, and I'd say it's our real key strength. But the way that we use technology is different, and I think every business has its own nuances and way of doing things. And Lauren, we've got talking about AI, and of course that's incredibly important. And really understanding how it's going to impact us in the future is incredibly important, because you will get left behind, and you won't get left behind in 5 years' time. You're going to get left behind within the next couple of years if you're just not doing what you need to do, because expectations will change, and there's just so much efficiency, right, that's going to come. So it's going to change the dynamic of how you employ people, how you become profitable, or how you make margin, that sort of thing. What would you say with your business has been the biggest learnings over the past sort of, let's say, 12 months in terms of new technology which is coming out?
For me, the most exciting thing about AI is to see how the industry develops and whether our competitors will be able to keep up. AI is only as good as the information you are willing to put into it and the work you continue to do with it. It's like a relationship. Dan is in AI all day, every day, and I'm ex-EY, ex-Accenture, so I'm quite tech focused. So it will be interesting to see for me to see how we go against our competitors in Tasmania. When we did the catch-up, very few people are using AI, which is wild to me. They're using ChatGPT for basic questions and answers and that kind of thing. But what Dan is doing now is developing our whole onboarding sequence to basically be AI generated. So communications to owners, once we've done the condition report, pulling out all the amenities and popping it in a listing, being able to draft that listing for owners to look at, turn on portals, all of those steps which are extremely important in the onboarding process. To be able to automate and take out human wait time and human error out of that has made us super efficient. And also our owners are getting a significantly better experience because they're not waiting for me to pen an email to them at the end of the day when I finish running around. So AI has improved so much of what we do. And I'll throw to Dan because he's been building, we call her Donna. She's off suits. So she knows everything. So we can ask Donna whatever we want to ask about, whether the listing's doing well, whether the photos are in the right order, what our competitors are doing in the area, what their cleaning fees are looking at. So are we pricing correctly? We can ask it to analyze basically anything now, and it can throw that data back at us. We obviously use Conduit, which is an AI messaging tool, which can answer something like 90% of guest inquiries without human intervention, which has saved us so much time on the comm side of thing. And we call our AI Max, and he gets bottles of wine delivered to the office for his wonderful service. And basically every third review he says Max was wonderful, so helpful, extremely prompt. So it's always been a little bit scary thinking, can AI present as good an experience for a guest as a human being? Not on the phone. I don't think we're there on the phone yet, but 100% through messaging. We have trialed AI phone, and I'm not a fan yet. But
we're about to trial another one.
With the progress, it won't be long.
Yeah.
But I'll throw to you about Claude and all of the building you're doing.
Yeah, I think when we look at technology, but there is a lot at play. And I think AI aside, business automation as well plays a pivotal role in, they go hand in hand with each other. So Lauren touched on our onboarding sequence, there is a lot of business automation in that. And that's just tools connecting to tools through the internet. It removes the human error. It speeds the process up, makes the experience a lot better. Where we're implementing the AI aspect is Donna. Donna is basically our persona of a tool that we're using that is grabbing data from multiple different avenues and making the team more efficient, because essentially what Donna is answering was what I was answering and being the bottleneck in the business. So it's not replacing, it's replacing me intentionally, so we can do more faster, essentially. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of we could unpack this for hours in where we're going.
Tables and Zapiers and
yeah,
API keys. And if I can just jump in as well, another thing that we want to use AI for, and we're building it at the moment, is the re-invite sequence for our guests. So really customizing the experience with the re-invite sequence, sending them the right kind of listings for them to book. So kind of a similar model to how Airbnb do it with targeting, with algorithms. We can segment our customers. We can invite them back. We can offer them a voucher to give to friends, which will then improve our brand awareness throughout the market. So being able to use technology to help write those emails, segment your market, deliver the product, it's so much faster and provides so much value to us as a business than us sitting down and second guessing ourselves the whole way. For some reason, we trust it more than we trust ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, for sure. I was reading an article yesterday about it, finding a diagnosis for a chap that had a sore jaw for 6 years or something, went to all the experts and stuff, and it said, hey, it's probably this particular issue. You need to do press this pressure point and thing, and then he fixed it within 30 seconds after 5 years of struggling with it. So I mean, it's real. It's stuff. It's happening, and I see it on a daily basis. But that's using ChatGPT. Now, you've covered a lot of ground. So we've got Conduit, which is the guest comms. We've got Donna, that's pulling data from all sorts of places. And then generally what the AI does, for those that don't know, so you've got ChatGPT that you guys use as a tool. AI or the large language model will generally process the data. So you need to give it those data points. So like a database or somewhere that you've got all this information, then you tell it what to do and it's going to crunch it and do something with it. And then you'll use tools like Claude or ChatGPT or whatever you like on the way through. In terms of connecting things up, is it Zapier that you're using, or do you want to kind of give me a little bit of a run through that sort of tech stack as to what the most common use or what Donna's doing at the moment?
So to keep it very high level,
go in.
And we can go deep. Okay. So obviously you have your atypical Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, large language models that you can all have access to it. We started on ChatGPT. I've migrated our whole team off that and onto Gemini. Gemini is the Google product. We get it automatically being part of the G Suite, so it makes sense for our team to communicate through that. Naturally, it can connect through all our Google data. Google Drive, that's the word I was looking for. So the team can talk to Gemini and access our data. One of the big things that Heidi in our office, she's like, Dan, cybersecurity. And I 100% agree with her. You know, this is an exciting and also very daunting space because of everything that's going on. You know, what does our security look like? And when you're talking with something like ChatGPT using your own internal data, it stays within that chat model. It's not like you put a sensitive spreadsheet on there and then Bart down the road there can find your spreadsheet on ChatGPT just by looking for it. That doesn't work, and it's not how the models interact with itself. So there is that element of security without the inherent risks of the space. So Donna essentially connects to Resli. Donna sees all the messages. She reads all the sentiment of all our guests, all the written sentiment. And the reason we do that is understand where we're falling short, where we can do better. So we do a week in review. So last week for today, an automated email will go out to the team in not too distant future, which will be a sentiment review on the week just gone. You know, where we fell short, where we could be better. And then what I've done with the prompt in the back end of that is I've picked out 5 incredible authors. I think Brene Brown on there, Simon Sinek, Brendan Bouchard, and there's 2 or 3 others. And using how they communicate and teach, essentially use their knowledge as the knowledge of how we could be better and how we can communicate. So then it spits out how can you do better this week based off Simon Sinek's methodology or Brendan Bouchard or something like that.
So it's continuous training, continuous improvement, and there's no emotion in it because these emails come out every week. The team know they're coming. They look forward to them, and it's like that constant feedback loop. And if it identifies that the same problems keep occurring, then it's an additional training requirement or more information required around that area.
And then we're also getting things flagged instantly. AI works 24/7, 365, doesn't sleep. I often know more issues than the team does on our guest comms. Like I'll be like, guys, what are we doing with this? And like, well, we haven't seen that message yet. And the message will just drop into the chat then and there. Yeah. So, you know, powerful things like that allow us, again, I feel like a stuck record, but it allows us to move faster. And elevate that guest experience. Because if we can action something that a guest has raised that we know we could do to assist them, speed is the key. That's how you win the guest experience.
Okay, so help break this down for me. So you've got Gemini, which is talking to Resli. What are you using in between to sort of create that connection? And I know that you keep saying Donna. What's your interface look like?
Yeah, so Donna is, so there's a platform out there called N8N, so N, letter 8, N. There's also another platform called Make.com or Pipedream or Zapier. They're all a low-code connectivity tool where you can connect one tool to the other. I don't use Zapier anymore. I found their connections with AI modeling not that great. So we use the N8N model. It's not as straightforward as what people seem to think. Okay. Now that we're talking about it, someone's going to go off this and they're going to watch an Instagram video and go, oh, that's a piece of cake. That's really easy to connect. And very high level, yes, it is. But, mate, I've spent some very late nights trying to figure out why things aren't working to where I want them to work.
Okay. Screenshotting it into Claude, asking Claude to pull it apart.
And then,
but that's the beauty of AI. Once you've trained it, it's kind of like Dan's offsider now.
Yeah, I've got 5 employees that work for me that are in the AI, like that are just AI. Like I have a coder, I have a marketer, I have my general assistant to just help me do things. Like, so the coding one was easy. It's just I struggle with a particular line of code. I'll just screenshot that code, drop it into the AI. I'm using Claude at the moment because the output with Claude for coding is really strong. But I'd put that into Gemini or ChatGPT and go, what am I doing wrong? Rather than trying to, I can hire someone to do that, but I have enough technical knowledge to crack myself.
So you're looking at JSON code and trying to figure stuff out, right?
Yeah. So I've got, I'd say, enough code knowledge to be dangerous, but not enough to go build my own software empire.
Sure. Okay.
So Resli, N8N, Claude, or Gemini would be my AI model in that.
Yeah.
Then we're also sourcing from Airtable. So we export all our stuff out of Resli into Airtable.
So that's your database. So you're like your CRM for Airtable, is that right?
Yeah. Yes and no. More, I call it mission control. So basically, it's a one-stop shop of where all our data is in one area.
It's the control page. It's the data sheet.
Yes.
So you'd have your guests and you'd have your owners and properties that sit in Airtable.
Yeah. So no.
Or is there another CRM system that I'm not seeing?
So there is another, like from an email marketing point of view, there's ActiveCampaign.
Sure, but more like knowing how many times a guest has seen you guys or how many times a guest has checked in, and then like that segmentation, all that would live in Airtable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then what about the interface for your team to then use to then interact with these tools?
Google Chat.
Google Chat.
Yeah.
Oh, and then so individual chat, and then so they can go through and bounce through. Love it.
So if we're at a house and we don't know the code to the front door, instead of calling the admin team, you just ask Donna on chat and she'll tell you.
Yeah.
And then you can say, can you update the lockbox code to this code? And she can do that. And then that takes away the need to interrupt other people, because interrupting people reduces their productivity as well.
Sure.
So, you're giving them the space to do their job well.
Yeah. So, like the reason Google Chat was selected as the interface tool is because the team's already there.
Yes.
I didn't want to go integrate something else.
You use Slack Telegram or whatever on the way.
Or Slack. Through. Yeah, 100%. If your team's using Slack, you build a Slack bot and communicate through Slack. You just go where your team are. And I think we touched on it earlier, is not trying to have too many tools that your team's playing with, because then they just get lost. The reason why we came off ChatGPT to Gemini was because it's already in the Google Suite. The team don't have to go into another application to do the similar stuff that they are doing within.
And then so for project management, you guys are using Airtable, is that right?
Asana.
Okay. But you could use Airtable.
Not really, no. Well, yes and no. But Airtable is geared. The reason we chose Airtable was it's a pretty, it's very robust. It's essentially a very pretty version, more robust version than a Google Sheet. It's not hamstrung by, if you move a column in a Google Sheet, you mess your whole code up. So it gives you a lot of that flexibility. That was the reason why we went to Airtable in that manner.
Yeah.
As we evolve and grow, Airtable will become less and less of a tool that we use, purely because it's limited by how much data I can input into it without it costing me an arm and a leg. So at that point, we will then go to totally different databasing models, which will be not pretty, and the team will never see it because it'll be in the internet, hosted on some random Amazon server.
Gotcha. All right. Let me pause there for a sec. So,
is this useful?
I think, well, for me, I think it's incredibly useful. And the good thing is, folks, is all you have to do is get the transcript of this and get these tools and get a description of each of the tools and then what they do. The biggest thing is that most people will conceptually explain these things, but actually not tell you how to do it. And what you've been given there is actually the how to do it. And which tools are going to be required to achieve the desired result that you want. Now, there are a few little bits and pieces which are kind of missing, but you have enough there to go off, and I know that for a fact because I'm in this space as well. So, what I suggest for people that are listening, if it's kind of gone over your head and you're like, oh, what is 989? What is this Gemini? What is Resli? What are all these different tools? We'll break them down. So in the show notes, I'm going to put in the different tools, and then I'll show how that puzzle fits together so people can figure out how to do it themselves. 989 is the key to this whole puzzle because what it does is it connects all the different systems and creates a workflow of what you have at the start and what comes out at the end. The beauty with 989 is that you can actually get it to do stuff on a repetitive basis in the background, and that makes it an AI agent, which is a difference between a workflow and an agent. But once again, I'm getting a little bit deep for people. The key of this is that what Dan is doing is he's actually figuring out ways to solve problems that are common problems within the business, using these tools and to make these tools and to automate it and to actually make it better than what a better response than what he might be able to deliver himself, right? Is that, that's the thing, and that's the annoying thing. So that's why my team, they'll ask me things. I say, hey, go and ask ChatGPT because chances are it's going to give a much better response than what I'm actually capable of doing already. One of the interesting things, Dan, and I think that these kind of tools, the shame of it is that once you figure it out, you could create a template that other people could plug into, but each circumstance is very unique. So the fact that you guys are using Airtable in a certain way, that you're using Resli in a certain way, and then you're using Resli and not Guesty or all those other tools. And conceptually, you could do it all the same. One of the biggest things that I think is really interesting, and I'm wondering whether you've had this issue yet, is the maintenance of these tools, because they'll work and then they'll stop working, and that's something that I do know. How much resistance have you had in that space up to this stage for the things that you've built?
The one thing that I've learned is you've got to build in the redundancy. So if it fails, it's got to notify somebody. My first tool that I integrated within the team was the sentiment-based tool, and that was listening to every message that was coming out of Resli and analysing that. There was probably 48 hours that didn't analyse, and I was like, what is going on? Something's not making sense. And it's because I didn't build in an alert to say, oh, it's failed, and the reason why it's failed. So I think, if you go explore this process, you've got to figure out, like, if the connection does break, which is, it's rare that it would break, but if it does break, you've got to be notified as to when and why it's happened. Like, I talk with the Resli guys often, and I'm on their case if something is broken, and they're also on the case if something is broken themselves. So I think, if you build in that process around being notified when things fail, then you are much stronger. And we as humans often forget things. We fail often, and if you can remove that element of failure, then you're on a winning streak. So
from an outsider looking in, watching Dan build these things, we're husband and wife, so I don't hang around at night and
stop.
I cook him dinner first. Is by building the AI agent around coding, we are able to have discussions about what we want to achieve, identify the bottlenecks and the problems in the company, and then we can talk to that agent and say, what systems, softwares, technologies do you recommend? What code do we look at? And then Dan will go down a rabbit hole and start playing. And then that's where it comes out. So it's first understanding what problems you're trying to solve, and then using the agents and the AI to assist you to develop it. It would be really lovely to have someone who we can just tell to do it, But at the moment, that trial and error and learning is exactly how we're getting the outcomes.
I think if we take a whole step back to, this rabbit hole we've gone down on the tools that we've built, is really just figuring out what your problems are and how you can try and achieve it with technology. And you can ask ChatGPT or Gemini and say, hey, here's the 10 issues that I'm having recurrent in my business. How can I solve those recurring issues with technology and the use of AI and business automation? I think both of them go hand in hand. How can I alleviate those problems? And then, it'll give you the answer. Like, you don't even need to think about it. You just need to ask it the question. It'll give you the answer and you go, all right, now let's unpack question number 2. This is my biggest issue right now that I think would be a really quick win. How can we make it better? Now, it mightn't be the tools that we've discussed on this podcast. It could be a myriad of other things. But you put in your dependencies, like we are using Resly as our PMS platform, or Guesty, or Hostaway, whatever it may be. You put in those core dependencies of where your data is coming from, and then ask it and see what it spits out. It's I think that's the exciting thing, and especially when we talk to our team, when we've trained them on using Gemini, and we've taught them how to prompt correctly, because there is a bit of a process. Instead of, why is the sky blue? You want to give it some context. You want to ask for the output, and seeing the team thrive on that, just that simple aspect, is making them a much better operator within the team. So, going down the rabbit hole aside, I think if you were to, wind back the clock a bit, it's really just figuring out what's wrong and how you can make it better, and how can you do it with AI and automation, and then just unpack each individual one as you go, because you're not going to solve them all at once.
And we are very fortunate because we're both quite techie. Dan definitely more so than me, just because he likes it. But one of the benefits is, once you understand that it can be done and you can see the workflow that you want to achieve, you can also go onto Upwork or Fiverr and find a developer who can build you those things. As long as you can clearly scope the work for them, understand what you're trying to achieve and the outcome you're expecting, you'll get quotes and offers as to how much it's going to cost you to build it. Yeah. So I don't always think we are the most efficient, in the fact we like to learn and do it before we hand it off, but it's not something that does sit in everyone's wheelhouse. So does your team do this, Bart? Having people that can build those automations for you and implement them in your business just allows you to move faster, recruit better, and get better outcomes.
Yeah, look, I mean, we definitely, for a lot of these things, it'll be myself that sits there and tinkers and figures these things out, and then afterwards, there'll be bits that I'll give to a developer and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Or if I get stuck, then I've got devs that are on the team that I'll go and talk to and say, hey, how do I get over this problem, that problem? But it's all such a nascent technology as well. At 989, just so that everybody knows, it's relatively new in terms of mass appeal. And it's the one that everyone is kind of talking about. And Dan, I don't know if you know this, one of the reasons I've heard that everyone's talking about it is because they've got really good incentive programs and referral programs. So everyone's referring you, and that's why they're talking about it. But might be in 6 or 12 months, there'll be other tools that will be just as good, or if not better, for the future. But look, I think that this conversation is really interesting because I think it's a bit scary, because for a lot of people, I think it's going to be like, oh, this is just a bit too much. I don't even know where to get started. And Lauren, I really appreciate you saying, you can go to Upwork or to Freelancer and those platforms. The problem you've got is that you need to know what to ask them, right? So you need to know, obviously, what problems you're solving, but even like the structure and the tools that you're using and how those connections work. You do need to know a base level of what you're looking at before you get going, because otherwise they'll build it in something that you just don't understand and you can't fix, and then you're relying on them forever based on there. So Dan, I think you'll after this episode, people will be calling you as a consultant, try to get you in to help with that. But we will list out those platforms and those solutions. I think more so than the immediate tools you're building, Dan, which I think are absolutely, they're becoming indispensable. I think that the knowledge that you're getting on now is going to be the key to your success in the next 2 to 5 years. 12 months,
100%.
2 years. Like this kind of stuff, just understanding it and being able to connect it all up will keep you ahead of everybody and potentially building, a multi-million, if not billion-dollar businesses, because you get it. You get how it works and how it works in our space. And I think that it creates a massive barrier to entry for people that just don't know how it all fits together.
And I'll jump in on that. I'm going to tout my husband. He's incredible. But every single person we have spoken to who started a short-term rental company, it's very different for hotels, I understand, but majority of them stumbled into it.
Yeah, literally fell into it.
Had their own property on short-term rental, and then someone's friend asked if they would do it, and then it snowballed. So very few people who started short-term rental come from business background or an IT background or understanding of how to scale a business, which is why this podcast is so incredibly important and powerful and has so much good insight for people. So it's always like the AI world is another thing that majority of people in the short-term rental probably aren't jumping into because it's not a natural space for them. So I do encourage, like Dan has Gemini on voice. He chats to it all the time, and you can tell he's chatting to it because he's like, I'm going to ask you something. I want you to let me finish speaking. I will tell you when you can answer. I'm about to start now. And I think if you ever say that to me,
be locked outside.
But he will go for a 2-hour drive and he'll come back and talk to me for 4 hours about how exciting it is and all the things he discussed with Gemini. So it is something that if you're willing to have those conversations and you're willing to even spend 5 minutes a day talking to Gemini, you do grow very quickly. So even if it's not a natural space for us, it is something that is a fast tutor if you're willing to put the effort in.
Yeah.
So that's something I've noticed.
And I would anything AI, I would see it as a member of your team. I wouldn't see it as a tool that you use. I touched on it earlier. I have 5 employees.
I still haven't made me $1 million overnight on Instagram, Daniel.
Like everyone else seems to think that they do.
Where's your 6 million followers, eh?
Yeah.
Overnight.
Yeah, overnight. Think of it as a team member. The way you communicate with the AI, whatever flavor that may be, really talk to it like you and I are talking about, that we're having this conversation, we're trying to solve this problem, help me solve this problem. Before we jumped on this podcast, I had Claude solve one of my problems, and I just couldn't see the forest through the trees, and it was literally a spelling mistake. I didn't put a Y on property, and admittedly I coded that at silly o'clock at night. But a simple screenshot just helped me figure out what's wrong here. I don't know what's wrong, and I couldn't see it. And I can't share it with anyone else in the team because they're like, I don't know what I'm looking at, Ben. Like, this is just letters and numbers and squiggle on a page. And it solved it in not even a minute. It was like, yeah, Dan, this is your problem, this here. It's like, oh, sweet. So, like, yes, it's daunting, but it's also very exciting because like it's just enabling you to do more with what you have now without having to scale and hire multiple people. I know we want to hire multiple people to supply more jobs to our industry and our local area. I get that. But where AI is going, it's taking all of those little menial tasks, those little things out of your sphere of stuff that you just have to do during the day. And then you can focus on doing more things that are more productive and more
boring stuff that makes you want to quit.
Yeah.
Sort of that.
Yeah.
I am most excited as well because as we expand our brand, our intention over the next 5 years is to expand our brand, to take on businesses that have owners who are not interested in learning this stuff, and for us to be able to add huge value to their business immediately just by implementing these systems and softwares is an exciting thing. To me, to take over someone who's still doing their operations on a spreadsheet, simple software like Breezeway can change the way that business works. So it allows you to elevate a business really quickly if you've nailed down these tools.
Yeah, 100%. All right, folks, we're running over time, so I'm I'm going to wrap us up. No, don't be sorry at all. I think that it's been invaluable, and I think that it's just been great to have some of these tools explained and shown. And I know that there's multiple hours worth of training in terms of how to actually do what you've done, Dan. But I think even just that framework of people understanding that it's going to be invaluable. I did really appreciate the where we started off as well, talking about occupancy and how things are going. I think that's a really good insight. And I think that, well, I know that Moxxi is a company to watch, and I feel quite privileged to be able to get onto a call and get your time and your attention to be able to share what you guys are doing. And I can tell anyone that's listening to this that this is a fast masterclass on what you need to do next in your business to stay up to date and stay ahead. And that's what we try to deliver on the show. Now, folks, if you are listening to the episode on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and a like and subscribe. If you are listening on the podcast, then also give us a rating. Those ratings do make a difference. It helps to get up the rankings and gets more people, more exposure to this kind of content. Lauren and Dan, what is the best way for people to keep in touch with you, reach out to you, potentially bring their property onto your platform, or any of the above?
You can follow us on Instagram, not one of 6,000 or 6 million followers, unfortunately. The handle is at Moxxi Property, MOXXI Property. And you can also follow us on Facebook. We're not as active on Facebook as we are on Instagram. And, of course, if you'd like to email us, it's lauren@moxxiproperty.com.au or dan@moxxiproperty.com.au. Anyone really will get back to you. It's a pretty exciting industry to be in, and it's a really collaborative space at the moment. So we're very much enjoying that.
I think you just slide into the DMs on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah, you're a LinkedIn boy, aren't you?
Yeah.
Does love a good LinkedIn.
Stalk. Good old LinkedIn stalking.
Beautiful. All right. So we've got ways to reach you. I'll put them in the show notes as well. To both of you, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And I'm sure that we'll do this again in no time at all. Take care and have a good rest of the day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers.